really can't say much about the days of punk because it sort of sailed past me. I was doing all the things about which we'll not talk at this time, but the people with me now, they can talk about it. Sean O'Neill is co-author of a book called Spit, that makes you want to spit, and Greg Kahn, who's got a wonderful hairstyle. I would give an awful lot of money to have a hairstyle like that, Greg.
I think you're just a bit too late there, John.
Just a wee bit too late, yeah. And Stuart Bailey, who needs no introduction, so I'm not going to give him one. Let me come to you first of all, Stuart. There's a picture of you in this book.
Yeah.
You've got hair, you've got a bass guitar,
yeah.
And boy, have you got attitude.
Well, yeah, it was a fantastic time. I was slightly behind Greg and the Outcasts and Rudy, and there was a first wave of people who were the coolest people and slightly older, and then I was slightly older, and then I kind of came along later with we were the kind of second league. We weren't as cool as the other people, but we gave it a good blast, you know.
Tell me, Sean, punk at the time, it sort of arrived out of the heavens like a howitzer, and people of a certain age just couldn't understand what was going on. What was going on initially?
I think most of us didn't know ourselves. It was just a buzz, excitement. It was new, it was fresh. It was all those things, and it just appealed to us at the time.
There was a bit of rebellion in the air at the time?
Absolutely, there was a bit of rebellion in the air, yeah. There was lots of things in the air, to be honest with you.
Tell me about the Outcasts. How did they start off, Greg?
Well, we were 16, 17-year-old school kids when sort of punk hit us. It was like one of those things you were sort of waiting on happening, but didn't know what it was. Then just one day everything just sort of kicked off. I mean, it was like a reaction against what was going on then. You have to remember Belfast then was like a dead-end city. I mean, there was no nightlife here. There was no anything. We went out and started our own clubs, got people going out again, and sort of across communities and things like that there.
So the average age of a band then would have been teens,
17,
wouldn't it?
18, yeah.
That's a wee taste of the Outcasts from then.
First time I saw you walking down the street, knew I had a crush on you right away. It's really embarrassing at school when the teacher asks me what I'm doing, and I'm daydreaming of you. And my mother's always nagging me, oh, why don't you finish your tea? But I'm always dreaming of you. So what'll I do? I'm self-conscious over you. Oh, what'll I do? I'm self-conscious over you. Oh, what'll I do? I'm self-conscious over you. You, only you, only you. So what'll I do? I'm self-conscious over you.
Sound of the Outcasts. Sean, there's a lot of energy in that. Presumably energy was a prime requisite for a punk band.
It was, in many cases it was, but there was such diverse, the bands were diverse as well. You know, if you listen to Stage B in comparison to like the Outcasts or like Chalk and Cheese, so there was diversity.
We were good and they were bad.
Stuart, what was the relationship between the band and the audience? Because up until then, the singer tried to sort of get the audience in with him.
Yeah, well, if you look at that period, then sort of mid-70s, all the 60s bands had become very, very rich, and the likes of Rod Stewart and stuff were tax exiles in Los Angeles, hanging out with Brett Eklund, and it was the era of the untouchable stars. And all of a sudden punk arrived, and they were kind of, everybody was a star. That was the kind of attitude almost. So anyone, you know, people like Sid Vicious started as a fan who ended up jumping on stage and became a star. And so that was very good for, you know, like kids in Belfast who weren't intimidated. Before that, you had to play the whole of Leonard Skinner's Freebird to be called a proper musician in Belfast. And all of a sudden it was 3 chords, bit of attitude, off you go. Brilliant.
I assume, Greg, that the Sex Pistols was a big influence.
That was, to me, that was the first punk band I'd really heard. That's what sort of changed my life after hearing Anarchy and seeing them. You have to remember, punk wasn't just music; like it was image as well. I think that's why it was so confrontational. I mean, it was like the whole look was like a rebellion against everything went before.
There's an awful lot of bands in here. So you've obviously, this has been a labour of love from you, but the punk era then must have been pretty well chronicled because you got a lot of very good photographs too.
Well, we had to do a lot of searching and a lot of research to get all that stuff. But yeah, there was people taking photographs. The scene here was like one of the last strongholds, and there was a hell of a lot of bands. If you read the book, you'll see, you know.
I would imagine, Stuart, that venues was a bit of a difficulty because I can't see many sort of bar owners inviting you in to play in their select lounge.
No, I think the first wave of people kind of just discreetly hired kind of like Glen Mackin and stuff as a private party, put the bands on. After that, you had the Harp Bar, which the stripper came down in the afternoon after doing her bit, and then we went up and did our punk rock thing. And there was the Pound Club. I remember walking into the Pound. It was the most badly lit, dirty place ever. And walking over someone lying unconscious on the men's toilets on the floor. And I thought he was dead. It was one of those really frightening moments. I let this big screaming because he got up and kind of waved his cider bottle and kind of went on his merry way. Greg, it was dingy, but it was great.
Run through a few of the big names from the Belfast scene now.
Well, there was the Outcasts. I think there was a couple others. No, there was Stiff Little Fingers, Rudy, Roofrex, Protex. There was actually millions of them, you know. As Stuart said, after about 2 weeks, you could be a major name on the punk scene. Like, it didn't take long.
Were you a performer yourself, Sean? Or
I wasn't, no.
You
No.
just stood on the sidelines?
Just a fan, yeah.
Right. And you have a party tonight to launch the book with Shame Academy, and there's quite a background to that band now, isn't there?
Well, it's like the first Belfast punk supergroup, really. You know, we'll have Greg here of the Outcast with Brian Young of Rudy and Pete C. Burns of Stalag 17, and they're doing a lot of covers and stuff like that, so it should be fun.
And that's in the Empire, 8:30 tonight, and you can pay at the door, I believe?
You can, it's £6 in. I think
Right.
there's tickets still available.
You're not getting a bit long in the tooth to be gigging, Greg?
Bloody right, John. I'd like a nice cushy job on radio.
Well, Stiff Little Fingers you mentioned there. There aren't too many punk bands left now, are there?
Oh, no, well, I mean, as you said earlier, like, it was a young person's thing. A bit of nostalgia is okay for like once. I mean, this is very good because there's a book launch. But I wouldn't like to be like an old punk cabaret band, like
No.
going out and doing the circuit and stuff.
Well, sure, when you became a punk, I mean, you threw away your duffel coat and your beard and your Moses sandals and became a man. What did you... Just describe to me what your normal dress would have been for a gig.
Oh, well, I was relatively conservative. I didn't go for the full kind of Benny Hill punk uniform, you know, but... No, at the time it was people with horrendous sideburns and centre partings and huge flares and platform shoes. And Joe Storm from The Clash said, like trousers like mine, so we didn't want to have flared minds. We had tight, sharp minds.
Right.
So that was part of it. And a lot of the times it was just kind of... Just anything that set yourself apart. The uniform came later. At the start it was people wearing all sorts of weird things, from David Bowie clones through to the kind of people who copied the Sex Pistols, through to kind of people almost with a 50s look, and it was great. The whole essence of punk, 2 words: question everything. And then in Northern Ireland, where politics were so horrible and entrenched, to question everything was vital to kind of moving forward.
Was this just a Belfast phenomenon, Sean, or did the country bands take it
No,
also?
it was province-wide. And in the book we have a part on the homeless scene with Derry, there was Glen Gormley, and even Antrim, where me and Guy are from, the fellow that wrote the book. So it was all over. There was wee little pockets all over the province.
And Greg, would for instance, the Outcast go as far as the Sex Pistols? I mean, would you vomit over your fans and spit at
Nobody
them?
ever vomited over their fans, John. That was like a media myth. But you were there to confront your audience. It wasn't like, as you said, bands that came before you were like hoping your audience loved you and stuff. You were there to confront them. So let's say it was anything to get a reaction.
Yeah. How long did the punk thing actually last for, Stuart?
Northern Ireland got on quite late, you know, but 76, late 76 was England. 77 it started kind of in Northern Ireland, but 78 was the era of Rudy, the Outcast, the Undertones, and I guess by 1980 it had moved on. There was things like Gyros, and there's a kind of an anarchist ideal which still goes on in Belfast and is sustained in some pockets, but as a kind of a freestanding movement, I think it had its peak by 1980.
You mentioned the Undertones. They've reformed again without Fergal, but it's a nostalgic thing now, isn't it?
I kind of think so, yeah. I don't mind people doing what they used to do as long as there's not an arrogance about it. I used to being told by the hippies and the maritime band that it was great in the 60s and it was all over, you know. But as long as people can understand it, the old fellas have to have a chance now and again, but as long as the young fellas are given license to be creative as well, that's fine.
Right. The book is called It Makes You Want to Spit by Sean O'Neill and Guy Trelford, published by Ricus Records. And if you've any memories at all of the punk scene, you will just love this because it's full of pictures and all the bands listed alphabetically. And the boys invite you to the launch party. It's in the Empire tonight, 8:30. And tickets are £6. Part of the festival, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes.
Yep. That sounds like quite a night. I think we'll have to get a report from Stuart. You haven't got your bass guitar still, have you?
No, sadly not.
Still got the attitude, though, haven't you? This is Rudy. That's Big Time from Rudy, from their album The Best of Rudy. We better calm things down a tad here. Cavalcade of Song, Thursday and Friday, that's tonight and tomorrow night, 7:30 in the Ulster Hall. Tickets £7 and £10, that's another festival event organised by the Association of Irish Musical Societies, the Northern Region.